I had a cousin of mine who contacted me a couple years ago, and he said, "Hey, man, I've been seeing what you've been posting on, TikTok about religion and science and history and stuff. We need to have a sit down and talk about this." Now, my cousin is one of the dumbest human beings on planet Earth. Like, this man has lucky to have a double-digit IQ, right? And he said, "Yeah, all this stuff you're saying about religion, I don't know." And he sent me like a link to a Tariq Nasheed documentary. And I'm thinking, like, how does he think this conversation is going to go? Like, I'm going to sit down and say, "Oh man, this 600-year-old conspiracy has all the answers I need. Thank you so much for giving this to me." But this is convincing to people, like, to the extent that, like, you read like anything from like MAGA folks that they've just embraced like this insane, it's not, Christian is not even the right word, because Christianity is just a part of it. It's like mysticism and nonsense. Like, how do we break out of this?
Honestly, I feel like some people are just too far gone, because I think, like, my mother is like a really good example of that. Nothing that I could ever say, and she watches my videos, I know she does. Nothing that I could ever say, nothing that I could ever point out in the Bible would shake her faith. There's nothing that could make her be like, maybe something's not right here. Nothing like some people are just too far gone. They are so deep into it, and they believe it so strongly that nothing can shake them. God himself could come down and tell them, this actually isn't real. They wouldn't believe it. They would not. They would continue to fall. And I think a lot of it comes from them just being comfortable, because one thing that people don't really talk about whenever it comes to deconstructing is the idea of not wanting to let go of something that you have believed for so long. And I feel like a lot of people, and I might be wrong about this, a lot of people want to leave religion because they see the harm that it's caused them. They see the harm that it's like caused their mental, and they just can't, because they're like, I've been in it for so long. I've believed this for so long. I don't think there's any way to like shake this. And it's really sad to see, because it's like, there's really no saving them. Now, there are some people like us that can somehow break free from all of it, see throughout everything else and be like, okay, this is a little too insane for me to like keep trying to, like you said, I can't continue to defend this anymore. But I feel like some people are just really too far gone. There's nothing that's going to be able to help them to see anything. They just are like, this is what it is, and it is what it is. They could read the Bible front to back, and they would still fully have 100% faith in the book, in the church, and in the God. And so it's sad to see, but that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I see that those people exist. I just don't understand how it seems to be. I thought for sure, I've been optimistic all these years. I thought it was waning to the extent that they'd be irrelevant now. And it doesn't seem to be that way. I don't know if there's more of them, but they're certainly louder. And like you see people like talking about the Crusades and stuff, and how this is good times and we need to go back to, I don't know what to do with it. But I found the verse I was talking about here. Let me make sure I got it pulled up. That this is Deuteronomy 22. Hold on a sec. Let me share the right screen here. It's Deuteronomy 22, I believe 16, where it talks about this. And here we go. All right. 22:16. Oh, 13. If a man marries a girl, then after sleeping with her, accuses her of having had premarital intercourse with another man, saying, she was not a virgin when I married her, then the girl's father and mother shall bring proof of her virginity to the city judges. Her father shall tell them, I gave my daughter to this man to be his wife, and now he despises her, and has accused her of shameful things, claiming that she was not a virgin when she married. Yet here is the proof. And they shall spread before the judges the blood-stained sheet from her marriage bed. The judges shall sentence the man to be whipped and fine him $100, I don't know if it's dollars, but whatever the shekels or whatever it was, to be given to the girl's father, for he has falsely accused her of being a virgin or not being a virgin in Israel. Yeah, that was how they would write. It's like, and so I saw that and I said, okay, wait a minute. Like I'm no doctor here, but I know that just because you lose your virginity does not mean you're going to bleed. That doesn't happen all the time. So that was God's plan. Like this is the Almighty God's brilliant system to protect virginity, because that's an important thing. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's nonsense. I don't know.
That is insane. I've never read that one. I'm gonna have to go look at that one in more depth. I might have to make an episode about that. That is
Yeah,
insane.
it is crazy. But yeah, you should put all those. Like you mentioned, the Bible doesn't make any sense. If you guys haven't seen those videos, she does these great videos talking about the insane stories in the Bible, which is great coming from people like us because we actually know what it says. Your average person has no idea what the Bible says. Your average Christian doesn't know a whole lot of those stories. Like I love bringing those up because I like it when people say they've read the Bible cover to cover. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. I haven't. I've never read the Bible cover to cover.
Either.
I haven't. And I hear people say it all the time, and I constantly bring up stuff they've never noticed. It's like, I don't think you actually did. I'm sure some people have. I haven't, and I seem to know it pretty well. But all right, so what I brought you on today for was from a video that you made about Nat Turner. Can you give us an introduction to who Nat Turner? Well, actually, can you talk about when you first learned about Nat Turner, if you remember? Because I remember when I first learned about him.
I want to say, so the first time that I ever heard his name was in 2016 when the Birth of a Nation movie came out. I hadn't heard of him at all before then. They didn't cover him in history class or anything. And
wow.
they didn't talk about him at all. It was literally nothing but Martin Luther King Jr. every single
What
year.
state? What state did you go to school in?
Oh God, Texas. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, they only talk about very specific things. So the first time that I heard his name was when the movie came out. Now I had just seen 12 Years a Slave, so I didn't watch Birth of a Nation because I felt like I had kind of had my fill. I was like, I can't handle this right now. But I had known that he had like done a slave rebellion, and that's really all I knew until quite literally a couple of weeks ago when I ran across a video of somebody talking about him, and I was like, oh yeah, they made like a movie about him some years ago, and I started Googling and stuff, and I started to see like, oh, he led like the biggest slave rebellion that ever happened in the South. Like he's the one that was in charge of that. And so it was amazing to finally find out about everything, like because I was like, why don't they teach us this in school? And I mean I get it why they wouldn't, but like it was insane for me to figure out. So I've only really known about a lot more of the stuff and like since a couple of weeks ago.
Wow, man, that is wild. Because I went to a Christian fundamentalist school, and they taught us about Nat Turner, which kind of surprises me looking back on it. Yeah, and that I remember reading about it. That basically, so what you said, that Nat Turner led a slave rebellion, and he was caught and executed along with his fellow conspirators. And they were talking about how, well, you know, he didn't just kill the slave owners; he killed like their family members, the women, and the kids too. So they never came out and said this guy's a fucking villain. They didn't actually say those words, but that was the implication. The implication was like, this guy is a monster, and sure, slavery was bad, but Nat Turner was really mean about how he tried to free the slaves and everything. That's what. And no condemnation whatsoever for Robert E. Lee. Like Robert E. Lee was extolled as an American hero and a good man who hated slavery. He did not. And who was stuck in a horrible position. And how can you blame the guy? Let's not be too hard on him. That's kind of what we were taught there. But Nat Turner, villain. Don't lionize this guy at all. Like, the only people who are allowed to fight for their freedom are straight white men. They're allowed to do that. Like if you're anyone else, you don't pick up a weapon and stand a post. You pick up a sign and stand in the field. That's what you do. That's the best that we can ask of you. But the Nat Turner thing, that's all. I learned more about him later, and I didn't know what you where you're going to mention about the spiritual thing. But I remember that the story is actually pretty cool of how Nat Turner he was on the property, and he got together with fellow slaves and overthrew the oppressors. Not only did they do that, they went from plantation to plantation recruiting other slaves, and so. The people, when they first heard about the rebellion, they said, okay, we're going to get a posse together. But the more time they took to build, the slave revolt got bigger because they kept going from plantation to plantation. He built like a small army to get this taken care of before it was actually put down. But what did you learn about that? This was fascinating, what you talked about with what motivated him.
Mm-hmm. So about 10 years before the rebellion happened, Nat Turner actually followed in his father's footsteps because his father escaped slavery. He followed in his father's footsteps and escaped from his master, and he was gone for like a month. And then he supposedly, this is all alleged because Nat Turner never actually like wrote down everything. He apparently spoke to someone who wrote everything down, but allegedly Nat Turner heard the Spirit of God telling him to go back to his master. And I have a direct quote here. Let me see if I can. Let me see. Yes, he said, I heard the Spirit telling me to return to my earthly master because I had my sights set on earthly things as opposed to like the kingdom of heaven. That's basically what he said. And so he decided to go back. And he went back, and about 10 years later, the rebellion happened. And so that was his entire. And it was interesting for me to find out about that because I was like, wow, like he was out. He was gone. He had been gone for a while. I would have figured that if he had any chance of being caught, that they probably would have caught him in the first couple of weeks. But he was gone for like a month and some time. And then he heard the Spirit one day, and the Spirit was like, you need to go back. And so he went back. And that was so fascinating for me to hear. And so I was like, God told him to go back and be a slave? But
Wait.
It makes sense. Oh yeah, it makes sense because there's like verses in the Bible that are talking about, obey your earthly master as you would Christ and stuff like that. And so it makes sense, but yeah.
So what's weird about this to me, because like I wonder if there were anything else with it, because the Bible says servants obey, or slaves obey your masters in the Lord, but this is right. Paul tells I forgot the guy's name, Theophilus or whatever, that's wrong, but you need to listen to your master. Oh no, he tells the master, hey, you should release your slave because I like him. That pretty much. But then why did he do the rebellion? Like, if God told him to obey his master, when did the rebellion come to mind?
And that's the thing. I got a lot of comments on that video of people basically like defending it and being like, God told him to go back so he could do the rebellion. And then I started to think, I was like, okay, sure. Let's say that God told him to go back so that he could do the rebellion. Fine. God is all knowing. He knows everything. He knew exactly what was going to come from that. He knew that not only was Nat Turner going to be executed, but a bunch of other people were going to be executed too. And on top of that, when I was doing research for it, I learned that because of Nat Turner's rebellion, there were other slaves that had nothing to do with the rebellion that were killed by their masters because they were scared of them rebelling against them, because they thought that because they had seen a slave rebel before, that these people were going to try and rebel against them too. So the slave masters were terrified and started killing their slaves out of fear. And then I also read that that was part of the reason why they stopped allowing slaves to read, like, altogether, because Nat Turner had been reading the Bible and they figured that he got this idea from the Bible and from God and all of that. But I don't know. I feel like if God truly was all knowing, he would have, for one, he's all powerful. He could have freed the slaves himself if he wanted
to.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm like, he genuinely could have struck down every white slave owner and they would have just been gone and everyone would have been free and it wouldn't have even been a thing. But if God told him to go back because he needed to do the rebellion, then God would know that they were going to kill him and a bunch of other innocent people because of the rebellion. And that's the point that people aren't grasping. They're like, God told him to go back because the rebellion was necessary. The rebellion was necessary, yes, but if the all-knowing God told him to go back, he knew he was going to die. And this isn't confirmed at all. I haven't actually read this, but people are saying that apparently they ate Nat Turner after they executed him. There's this book that someone told me to check out called The Delectable Negro, and it was like an entire thing about how they used to eat dead slaves. I haven't read it yet, but that was something that they told me, and it's something that I've heard a lot, and so I need to check to make sure that it's actually accurate. But that's what people are saying. So essentially, God told Nat Turner to go back so he could lead a rebellion, get executed, and be eaten.
Yeah.